Booktok, a dark ocean of content, not unlike the primordial soup which existed on Earth 4 billion years ago. This swirling churn of attention-hijacking meme fuel occasionally contains the building blocks from which life derives. In the throbbing warmth of tumultuous waters, life is cradled to its infancy and ventures to far-flung shores, recently cooled from millions of years of volcanic activity. A misshapen form, neither man nor fish, washes upon unfamiliar rocky terrain. It takes its first, gasping breath of air through lungs that have heretofore breathed nothing but water. It cranes its head, struggling to see through half-formed, primitive organs that will soon become eyes. It watches and it waits. 4 billion years after life was created on planet Earth, we are spectators as the process occurs once more on TikTok, yielding the ur-text of one of the most studied young adult novels of all time. Quite possibly one of the most highly anticipated novels pre-publication, and one of the most negatively reviewed novels immediately upon its impact, like a nuclear warhead post-publication. And now, 2 months later, two intrepid, clout-chasing new YouTubers, Pyric and Victoria, review for your viewing pleasure, Lightlark.
Hey guys, welcome to another video by Pyric Victoria. I'm Pyric.
And I'm Victoria.
And today, in this video, we're going to discuss the TikTok famous book, Lightlark by Alex Astor. So this book has been making the rounds on the internet. A lot of people in the Booktok space are divided. There's controversy around the success of the book, and we just want to discuss what we think about the book. We're going to do a little bit of a review, talk about ways it could have been better, going to sprinkle in a little bit of artistic interpretations as for some of the really incredible visuals that are in this book, and we hope you enjoy. So without further ado, you want to...
Yeah, sure. So Lightlark is a book that was released.
A book?
A book. It calls itself, it purports to be a book.
Yeah.
Released earlier this year. I think the most notable thing about its production is that it basically was submitted several times by its author to publishing houses, different publishing houses. And the author, Alex Astor, had been rejected multiple times, but then she created a pitch for the book, a really amazing pitch for the book, and put that on TikTok. And it went viral and was, as you can imagine, instantly snapped up for publication. And then before the book even came out, there was a lot of controversy over how her pitch went viral. She was making a lot of claims about being an underprivileged person of color, and those might not have been true. So there was a lot of controversy even before this book came out. It got review bombed on Goodreads pretty heavily before it came out. And then after it came out, people were like, yo, the anticipation was up here, and then the final product was right at the bottom of the frame right there. And yeah, a bunch of people are not very happy, but you know, I never bought into the hype train. I'm not a huge TikToker. I just heard about it through the grapevine, and as a first-time reader, this book is amazing. It's really good.
It's very entertaining. It kept us at the edge of our seats. It was a real page-turner. So many plot twists.
So many plot twists up until the last 10 pages.
Oh man.
There were plot twists upon plot twists.
It was like, how do you come up with this stuff?
Every chapter was a cliffhanger. It was great. And there's like 50 chapters in this book, and every single one of them was a cliffhanger. So it was amazing. The prose, top-notch prose. There's a lot of throat-clutching suspense going on here.
Yeah, lots of lists, showing synonyms of words, right? Like, we'll get into it with the specifics and stuff like that once we start going into the chapters a little bit more. But yeah, essentially, like you said, it was a Booktok famous book. People review bombed it. And, there's been discussions of it being turned into like a movie series.
Yeah, in the acknowledgement, she said she already signed her rights away to her to a TV/film agent, and she included them in the acknowledgements, like a big, like, yeah, it's gonna get turned into a TV slash movie, or TV show slash movie. So she already, she's pretty much made bank off this book already.
Yeah. It's interesting because it kind of shows you a little bit of the direction that the young adult industry is headed, and also
has been heading for several years now.
Yeah.
So basically, just a 40,000 foot view. It's a fantasy. I can't describe the setting. I just physically can't. I would say maybe Lost mixed with like Spy Kids 3D. Is that what it reminded you of? It reminded me of Lost mixed with Spy Kids 3D.
Are you thinking
Spy Kids
2?
Spy Kids 2.
The one with
Steve Buscemi.
Yeah, do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he
of his creations? Yeah.
You think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created?
Yeah, it's like Spy Kids 2 mixed with Lost. A little bit of like Naruto in there.
There is a lot. There's Naruto, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Definitely Avatar: The Last Airbender. And it's all over the place.
It also reminds me of, wasn't there like Nutcracker in the Four Realms? It reminded me of that too. Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
That movie bombed, right?
I know, but that's what it reminded me of.
Of all the things you could think about, Nutcracker in the Four Realms.
Because there's 6 realms in the book, and they all have very highly specific characteristics, so that's what it reminded me of.
It's also a little bit like Master of Disguise, because she disguises herself to go into the realms.
Kind of.
Yeah.
A little bit of Basic Instinct thrown in there.
A little bit of Super Mario Sunshine with the Star Stick thrown in there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to describe. It's just every time you turn the chapter, every time you turn the page, there's something else jumping out at you, where you're just like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Literally had no setup at all.
Yeah, it had no setup at all. It just came out of nowhere. Like, the author's like, by the way, here's a series of really, really complicated rules that affect everything you're about to read.
Yeah.
But to continue with the 40,000 foot view, so yeah, I can't really tell you the setting, but it is a fantasy. There's a bit of romance in there too. Basically, I think the pitch was like Hunger Games, mixed with like, Game of Thrones or something like that, because it is based on a contest on an island that takes place on an island, but all of the participants are royals from 6 different realms.
Yeah, and so I know that she said on her Instagram, as like a sort of milestone achievement for her, she said, 2 years ago, I pitched an idea of a story about an island that only appears every 100 years, and there's a 100-day tournament on the island. And so I think that was a really big part of it. So that's a little bit like you said, Hunger Games, Battle Royale type, and then the island appearing every 100 years, right? So that sounds really intriguing, but the execution was just...
I feel like she just had a bunch of ideas, and she didn't know how to execute them, so she just threw them all in here, because this book has everything. It has like ninja stars, it has hidden knife chokers, it has dudes who could teleport and turn invisible and create illusions
while laughing at the same time,
and look into mirrors, and yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. It's really crazy. It reminds me as well of I don't know, this is kind of like old lore, but Gloria Tesch, the self-published author from ages back, who like bragged about being the world's youngest author, and you read her books and you're just like, what the heck is going on? This reads like it was written by somebody who's never read a book before. I mean, Alex Astor's not quite as bad. Her prose is, I mean, it's not great, but it's not horrible. But yeah, I mean, it reads like somebody who doesn't really read a lot of fantasy. It was just like, oh yeah, I have a great idea for a fantasy. Let me just throw all these things in there and make the best fantasy book ever.
Yeah, so it definitely seems like it's a cash grab just because of all the elements that she...
I don't think it's a cash grab. I think she put a lot of heart into it. I really felt like she put a lot of work into it. I feel like she thought she had something really great here, but it just comes off as like really infantile.
That's true.
Like it comes off as like a 12-year-old's first book.
Yeah.
A 12-year-old who's good at writing. Their first book.
like, we were talking about it. We said it sounds like a story being told by, like, a older sibling, like a 14-year-old to their 8-year-old sibling. Like,
making it up as they go along.
Just completely making up a bedtime story. And then this happens, but she knew it all along. So she had a secret power that she didn't even know she had.
Yeah.
You know, type thing.
And it also, like, the power system really smacks of, like, two kids playing, and then, like, one kid decimates the other kid, and then the other kid goes, no, wait, I have shadow powers. So your attack, it didn't hurt me, you know? There's a lot of that in this book.
Yeah.
But nothing happened because Isla had held onto a tree branch for 5 hours, you know?
When she was 12.
When she was 12, so this attack had no effect on her.
Yeah.
So yeah. So that's like the 40,000 foot view. It's like a tournament between royals for some prophecy, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really make a lot of sense if you go into it. And the characters, do you want to cover the characters next?
Sure. Yeah, so, well, a little bit for the world, a little bit more. So there are 6 realms. There's Wildling, Nightshade, Skyling, Sunling, Moonling, Starling. Did I name all 6 of them? Wildling, Nightshade, Starling, Sunling, Moonling, Skyling.
Okay. It's Sunling, Moonling, Skyling, Starling, Wildling, and Nightshade.
Okay. Naming all the lings first, and then the Nightshade last. That's how you do it.
You have to name the lings first. You have to go Sun, Moon, Star, and then the one that doesn't belong, Wildling. And then
Sky
yeah,
too.
Sun, Moon, Star, Sky,
Yeah.
Wild, and then Nightshade.
Okay.
So, I don't know why, but the majority of the powers and the majority of the realms surround, like, celestial bodies.
Yeah.
And then she throws in Wildling, and then she throws in Nightshade.
Yeah, and so then...
And you can already tell from the list who the evil realm is. I wonder who, man. Is it Sunling? Is Sunling the evil
it's
realm?
Sunling, isn't it?
It's Sunling, isn't it?
Yeah, and so then they have, Lightlark.
They all have different powers. Each realm has different powers that they're born with, and that determines their, like, the borders of their world, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's the Avatar comparison, but they all come from one island called Lightlark. So I don't know how these, like, disparate peoples all have different powers from this one island. They talk about, like, the founders, but I don't know how the founders got their powers. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
So each realm has different powers, and then, like, 500 years ago, every single realm was cursed with a different curse that basically gives every single member of the realm, they have their power that they're born with, and then they have a curse on that power. And the curse is extremely arbitrary and seemingly has nothing to do with the power for a lot of these guys, like, a lot of the realms. I would say the majority of the realms, the curse has nothing to do with the power, except for, like, Nightshade and Sunling. So, we're gonna go over the powers and the curses. So, Sunling, their power is over heat and fire, and they can also turn stuff into gold, and their curse is that they can't go out into the sun.
Yeah, they burst into flames.
Yeah, they burst into flames. Moonling, their power is over ice and water and healing, and their curse is that every full moon, the ocean's, like, out to get them. And they, like, no matter where they go, thousands of them will just get dragged into the ocean or drown spontaneously, like spontaneous combustion.
Yeah.
Then we have Skyling, and their power is that they can control wind. And they used to be able to fly, but they can't fly anymore. So I think they can just control wind. Like, their power, they seem kind of like they got screwed in the powers department.
I think the curse makes it so that they can't fly. And that's their curse.
Yeah, because I didn't remember their curse.
Yeah.
Well, that's so lame. They don't have the greatest powers, and their curse isn't that bad. And she was like, oh, Moonling, they're the ones who are cursed the least. I was like, what about Skyling?
Yeah.
They literally suffered not at all.
Yeah, I mean...
I can't think of their curse other than not being able to fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so they have wind powers, and then they can't fly, and they used to be able to fly.
Yeah.
And then we have Starling, who basically, their power is they can... it's not really clear what the power is. They have telekinesis.
Yeah.
But then they can also, like, cause stuff to explode.
Yeah, so she says multiple times in the text that they draw their energy from stars. So...
But it's like, what is that? I mean, I saw the fire, or I got the fireworks bit.
Yeah.
And, like, somehow they can make swords. I don't know how. And then... also telekinesis. Yeah. But it's like, what does that have to do with stars?
They get their energy from stars.
Yeah, you say that, but like, what does that mean?
I mean, they get their energy from stars, obviously.
Okay, so those are their powers. They're cursed, and they got screwed over the worst. The curse is that they all die when they turn 25.
Yeah.
And it's like, why? What does that have to do with being star power? Yeah, so their curse has literally nothing to do with their power at all.
No.
And it's the worst curse. I guess because she wanted to like do the whole red herring misdirection thing with the ultimate villain.
Yeah.
And then the wildlings are the main character. She's a wildling. The wildling power is like nature and earth, so they can control plants like poison ivy, and then they can cause plants and fruits to grow really fast. So theoretically, this is like the best power to have.
Yeah.
From an economical standpoint.
Yeah.
And then their freaking curse is that if anyone that they fall in love with, they have to kill. Like they're compelled to kill the people that they fall in love with. Or no, just the people they love. I don't know if it means like, I think it means just romantic love.
Yeah.
My question when I first read that was like, is it just romantic love, or do like parents have to kill their children too?
Yeah.
But I think it's just romantic love. So anyone that they love, they have to kill.
Yeah.
So they can't fall in love. And they can only sustain themselves off of human hearts.
Yeah.
For some reason. It's like a double curse.
Yeah. It's a double curse, and I think another part of their powers are the ability to seduce people. But
oh yeah, they have like amazing seduction powers, but it's not clear whether they have like pheromones or if they're all just really beautiful.
Yeah,
because the main character is really beautiful. She's the most beautiful girl on the island, and I think that's because she's a wildling.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know if their seduction powers come from them being beautiful, or if it's like a cultural thing, or if it's like pheromones, or if it's like an empathy power. That part's not clear. And then the Nightshade guys, basically their powers are. You know what I just realized? All the OP people are the powers that the main character has. All of the OP powers are like, oh yeah, those are the main character's powers.
Yeah.
So the Nightshade guys can, they can summon illusions, they can turn invisible, they can like phase through objects, and they can also use mirrors to like communicate.
Yeah, and then they can also teleport.
No, that's only the Grimdark's ability.
And erase memories is Grimdark?
I think erasing memories is a Nightshade power.
Okay, and then they can give people nightmares.
Yeah.
And then they can also spin curses.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest one.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one.
Yeah.
The Nightshades are the only ones who can spin curses.
Yeah, and they fractured from the other 5 realms way
before the curses were spun 500 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was like even a war between the Nightshades and the Sunlings, or everyone on Lightlark.
Yeah.
So there's like beef between the Nightshade realm and all the other realms.
Yeah.
From Lightlark. So 500 years ago, there was a curse, like we just mentioned, and after the curse, the main island where everyone came from, Lightlark, got shrouded in this like forever storm, and the main island, Lightlark, only is visible and accessible once every 100 years for 100 days, during which time this tournament occurs.
Yeah.
And most of the people in the world do not live on Lightlark. They live on the New Lands, which are new kingdoms that were formed after the curses struck the realms. And but the king of Lightlark, he still lives on Lightlark, but like all the other realms live on their own little islands or their own little countries.
Yeah.
And it's unclear whether he's like the king of all of them, because they call him the king with a capital K.
Yeah.
But the other guys are also rulers.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they still belong to Lightlark. I mean, that part was really unclear to me, because everyone's like, how dare you talk to the king like that? But it's like, if he's just the king of this crappy island, like, why does anyone care?
Yeah, there's the king of Lightlark, and then everybody else is called a ruler, though. They have a different title.
And they're all immortal.
Yeah, they're not the kings and queens of their own domains. They're just the rulers, and each of their islands or their domains is attached to Lightlark on these flimsy little bridges. Right? Remember when she's going to the Skyling Kingdom, she has to cross that little wooden bridge?
No, but because the thing is, the thing that was confusing me is that they say that the Wildlings and the Nightshades abandoned Lightlark before the curses, and they have their own new land.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned that the Skyland and the Moonling Kingdom attached to the island, Lightlark, are not the main domains of those rulers, because she remarks when she goes to Azul's Skyland place, she's like, oh, it's so weird how his castle is kept so well despite him never coming here except once every 100 years.
Yeah.
So I think they have their own countries outside of Lightlark too.
Okay, so these are just like embassies, basically.
They're basically like embassies, or like, yeah, it's like sovereign land within a greater land mass.
Right.
So it's like technically the U.S. Embassy in Russia is United States territory.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's what's going on here. They have their own territories and their own subjects that live in those territories on Lightlark, but the majority of their kingdom is outside of Lightlark.
Okay.
That's why it was really confusing to me.
Yeah,
It was really confusing.
Never explained in the text, but
I mean, it kind of was. That's where I got my idea from. But it was never like, it's not like we got a map of Lightlark.
No.
Which is why we're gonna have to draw a map of Lightlark.
Yeah. Oh boy, we're gonna go deep for this one.
Yeah, so just as a side note, we're both artists and we both have our own webtoons right now. So we were planning on drawing a lot of, our own interpretations when it came to this book.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I got. And then there's also, in addition to the Nightshade realm, the Wildling realm, and then the Moonling, Skyling, Starling, and no, there's no Sunling realm. The Sunlings are stuck on Lightlark, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone has a realm outside of Lightlark except for the Sunlings, who are trapped on Lightlark. And then there's also like Moonlings and Skylings trapped on Lightlark too, and Starlings trapped on Lightlark. So I guess it's like, colonies on Lightlark, and then they all have their own countries except for the king of the Sunling Kingdom and the Sunlings who are trapped on Lightlark.
Yeah.
So that's the setting. And then there's also unexplored lands beyond the realms that are mentioned within the book, because at one point Isla says, I want to take my star stick and explore the lands beyond the realms.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure her name is pronounced Isla.
I don't care, it sounds dumb. I'm saying Isla.
I'll call her Isla just to balance it out.
Yeah, just for a counterpoint.
Yeah.
So that's like the setting, that's like the premise. Well, the real premise is that they have this tournament once every 100 years that lasts for 100 days. Because in order to undo the curses, there's like a prophecy that they have to fulfill. And the prophecy, nobody really knows what it means. But these rulers have been trying to undo it for the last 500 years, and they believe that the prophecy states that one of the rulers has to die in order to remove the curse, and the original sin that caused the curse has to be repeated.
Yeah, so if the rulers die, then their entire realm gets wiped out with them, is the thing. Because the life force of the rulers is tied to the life force of their realm.
And that's why the rulers are, like, immortal.
Yeah, that's why they're immortal, and that's the stakes for the tournament.
Yeah, one of the six will die. One of the six rulers of the realms will die in order to reverse the curse, and whoever dies, their entire realm will be wiped out.
Yeah.
And then the other rules of note that we're gonna front load for you guys, because they keep entering the freaking book at like the most random times. So the other rules of note are that if you fall in love in Lightlark, like in the entire world of Lightlark, if you fall in love, you end up getting access to the person you love's power. So if two people fall in love, they both have access to each other's powers.
Yeah, like a Sunling and a Starling fall in love, then the Starling can channel Sunling powers.
Yeah, do flame stuff.
Yeah, and then the Sunling can channel Starling powers. Mm-hmm. But obviously the Sunling won't be cursed to die when they're 25. The curses are not...
The curses don't flow between partners, but the powers do.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the king of Sunling, which is why I don't know if he's like the king of everyone, he has all 5 abilities. He has everyone's abilities except for Nightshade.
Yeah.
Because Nightshade, like, renounced his rule or something. But he can do Moonling abilities, he can do Starling abilities, Sunling abilities, obviously, Skyling abilities, and Wildling abilities. So, for some reason, the king just has all of those abilities, and they call him an origin. I don't know if that means that he's, like, one of the oldest people there. But he's, like, 1,000 years old or something.
Yeah, probably. So... I think that's everything.
I'm trying to think. There's also, like, really stupid rules that keep coming up, too.
I know there's a rule about people from different islands wearing certain clothing.
Yeah, you
colors.
can only wear the colors of your realm.
Yeah, so Moonlings only wear white, Starlings only wear silver, I believe, Sunlings only wear gold, Skylings only wear light blue, Nightshades wear black, and then Wildlings can wear whatever color they want.
Yeah, because the main character is a wildling.
Because of nature.
Yeah.
So.
As if stars aren't different colors, right?
Oh, yeah.
No. And it's not like the sun is a star.
It's not like if you look at the spectrum of radiation and visible light, you'll see every single color of the rainbow.
It's not like night and darkness is basically the absence of light. So he should, the Nightshade guy should only be wearing Vanta Black.
Yeah.
So I think those are the rules that matter, apart from the rules of the tournament, which are that the tournament is 100 days long, and for the first 50 days, nobody can kill anybody.
Yeah, no assassinations.
There's no assassinations for the first 50 days, and then after 25 days, they're assigned to different teams. And then in order to just determine who picks the teams, there's like a bunch of challenges in the beginning, and the winner of the challenges gets to pick the teams.
Yeah.
And then the teams, they're supposed to like pick one of them to assassinate because of the prophecy, but like that never happens in the book. It's kind of pointless. The whole setup is pointless.
Yeah.
It's like she thought of the idea and then she's like, wait, but I can't think of a way for that to be satisfying.
Yeah, and I think the third rule of the tournament is that you're not allowed to participate in the tournament if you have an heir.
Yeah, everyone who participates in the tournament, the centurion or whatever, they're all the last ruler of their country or their realm.
It's called the Centennial.
Whatever. Is it not the centurion?
No, it's called the Centennial.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it is a centennial. Yeah, so the contest is called the Centennial, and basically lasts for 100 days, and we already covered partnership at 25 days, no assassinations until after 50 days.
Yeah.
And then, like, the goal, I don't even know what the goal of I guess the goal of the competition is to break the curses, and whoever breaks the curses gets to keep the power of the realms. It's like the prophecy says whoever breaks the curse gets to take the power of the realms.
I just don't understand how they've had 4 centennials before this, and they still haven't figured things out.
Yeah, that's what I don't know, but back to the rules. So the rules are, like, someone must die because of the prophecy, and then whoever wins is the person who breaks the curses, and then when they win, they get the power of the realms. I think that's the goal. But it's like if only one of them dies instead of only one winner, then there's not really any competition there.
But then that means that nobody has won any of the previous ones.
No.
They all fail. What does that mean?
I don't know.
That they evade assassinating each other?
We can't go there yet.
Okay.
So those are the rules of the competition.
Yeah.
And the main character, Isla, well, her name is supposedly Isla Crown.
Yeah.
But Isla just sounds dumb, so I call her Isla. The main character is a wildling from the wildling realm, which, like, she's supposed to have nature powers, but she doesn't. She has no powers. And,
the reason she doesn't have powers, alright?
Are you gonna go straight into spoiler territory?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. I guess we could just give a summary of the story, right?
You want to do the characters? I was gonna do the characters
Okay,
first.
yeah, so let's just go into the characters and give brief bios of the characters. Yeah. So
the main character, Isla Crown, I don't know how old she is. I'm guessing in her early 20s or late teens. She basically has no powers. She's the ruler of Wildling, but she has no powers. She's been raised in, like, a glass cage, literally a glass cage, her entire life by her guardians, who say that because she has no powers, they have to hide that fact from her populace. And all her life, her guardians have been training her to succeed in the Centurion with a really stupid plan. And she's, like, the master of swords. Like, she knows how to sword fight better than everyone. And I would say she doesn't really have much of a personality besides, like, being able to sword fight.
Yeah.
And, like, wearing really revealing clothing, but, like, always saying, like, oh, I didn't want to wear such a revealing dress, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, she was trapped in her little glass cage, but she had something called a star stick that she used to travel to different places, so she's not extremely sheltered. And she basically has no contact with the outside world except through her star stick, and her best friend is a girl named Celeste from the Star Kingdom, actually the ruler of the Starling Kingdom. But supposedly nobody knows that she has been talking to Celeste for years and that they're best friends now.
Yeah.
So that's the main character. I don't think there's anything else of note before we go on to the other. Oh, she's described as being the most beautiful girl on the island.
Yeah.
And she has dark hair and green eyes, but I have no idea what she looks like apart from that. And I think Alex Astor stated in interviews that she's supposed to be Latina, but it doesn't matter because it's set in a totally different universe.
Yeah.
And there's like nothing Latino about their culture at all.
I
Like,
don't-
it's not Latin influenced at all.
No, there's no real descriptions about the culture or their cultural practices. The names, the
names are like
traditions.
Poppy, Tara.
Yeah.
The main character's name is Isla.
I mean,
it's just like very generic
yeah.
nature-related names.
The way they dress, the way they conduct themselves, everything is just generic fantasy. It could be any other generic fantasy.
Not even. It doesn't even feel like medieval fantasy.
No.
It feels like really modern.
Yeah.
It feels like modern age, modern day, but like just with a veneer of like fantasy paint on top of it. There's like no world building at all.
Yeah, none. So that's Isla, the main character, and then I guess we could go to the second character who's introduced once she gets to Lightlark, which is our boy Grimdark,
Grim.
as we call him.
But his name's actually Grimshaw.
Yeah, Grimshaw. Grimdark. Grimjaw, who is described as being so tall that she has to look at him with like a 90-degree
angle.
Yeah.
He's like Slender Man.
And
He blocks out the sun.
he's really pale, and he's got black hair that's stringy and limpid. That's a good description, right, for his hair?
Limpid pools.
Yeah. It's like limp, stringy.
No, they never say it's limp and stringy. They just say his hair's dark.
No, they say it's like ink on his forehead. So if your hair
No,
looks
that
like
was
ink,
only when it was wet.
it's gonna look like that all the time.
No.
It's gonna look wet and greasy.
That was only when his hair was wet.
Wet. So he's got wet, greasy hair. He's pale. And he's so tall and big. She's gotta look at him like this. And his name's Grimdark. And he's always smiling like a crazy clown.
He's not smiling. He's always smirking dangerously
And grinning. He's always grinning.
This character would be played by Tom Hiddleston.
And
if you put it, I think the writer was writing all the grimdark scenes with Tom Hiddleston like pasted on the wall in front of her.
I was imagining Kylo, but with like a grin.
No, because if she said he looked like Adam Driver, she would say he had like strange features or something.
No, so he's got jet black eyes, and she'll say like he grinned, and then his grin grew wider, and then another sentence, and then his grin grew even wider. So it's like, how big is this guy's mouth?
Cheshire Cat.
Yeah,
grin.
like I'm getting scared here.
No, and there's a lot of descriptions of his teeth too.
Yeah, so he's a toothy guy, and he's tall and big, and he's old. He was there before the curses were cast. And
Yeah, he's at least like 1,000 years old.
he's supposed to be a fearless warrior.
Fearsome warrior.
Yeah, fearsome warrior on the battlefield. They say that during wars, his cloak would be stained red with blood from his enemies.
Soaked through with blood.
Yeah, and he's just a creepy guy. That's Grimdark. So,
But what about his powers?
oh man, he can do anything. He can do whatever is necessary for the plot at that exact moment. He can do it. You know, whether that's phasing through a countertop at a chocolate store to get milk because the character ate spicy chocolate, or falling backwards off a balcony and teleporting to the ground like nothing happened, or shooting darkness out of his hand and leveling an entire part
Oh
of the
yeah,
city.
he has like Negaverse powers.
Yeah, he's like, you know,
Yeah.
Exodia, obliterate.
Yeah,
you know.
like Dark Ball.
like dark ball powers.
Mewtwo's Dark Ball.
Yeah, he says, I could open a black hole and swallow the entire island if I wanted to.
Yeah,
And
he's
it's
like OP. He's
How do you even know what a black hole is,
Yeah.
Grimdark? Like, what are you talking about, man? So, I mean,
Grimdark is so old that he saw the Big Bang. That's how he knows what a black hole is.
Yeah, Grimdark, he's like the ancestor of everybody in Lightlark.
Yeah, right.
He's the common ancestor, the common link. What, the missing link? That's
The missing
Grimdark.
link.
So Grimdark looks less evolved than everybody else in the story. Yeah, that's Grim, shortened to Grim. He's the leader of the Nightshade, and he's also kind of a pervert because he's always...
such a creep, dude.
Yeah.
He's such a creep. He has like the most character. Him and Oro have the most character out of anyone in this book, and he's like a creep. He's always like looking Isla up and down and talking about how her dresses are so tight, and it's just weird.
And
every time he shows up, he like looks her up and down and goes like, "Oh, your dress is so tight, I can see her butt crack." You know. He doesn't actually say that, but that's how he talks.
he says a manner of other cringy things like, I don't know what I like seeing more, the way you grip that sword or the way your dress grips you.
Yeah,
you know?
It's creepy.
And you'd think a guy that old could work on his game a little bit more.
I know.
But that's just grimdark for you,
yeah,
man.
grimdark. He's like Adam Levine.
Oh, no.
He's a sleazoid.
Yeah.
He's a sleazeball, an oily sleazeball.
Yeah, he's like constantly sweaty,
Yeah.
greasy sleazeball who's just eyeballing people all the time.
No, eyeballing Isla all the time.
Yeah. So that's grimdark. And then the third character to appear is Azul, the leader of the Skyling.
Oh yeah, I need to go find his character description. Okay, so here's the best description in the book. A pale blue cloak cracked with wind before settling against bare, very dark shoulders and muscled arms. How is his cloak attached to his body?
It comes out of his shoulders.
Yeah. The man had eyebrows larger than his eyes. A sculpted chin and perfectly coiffed stubble that framed his pink mouth. Azul, ruler of Skyling. And then Grimm's description is, the face belonging to the man looking down at her was amused, and familiar somehow. He was so tall, Isla had to tilt her chin to meet his eyes, black as coals. His hair spilled ink across his pale forehead. Nightshade, no question.
Yeah, so Azul is the leader of Skyling. He's just a boring guy with no personality.
He has no point in the story.
I could not tell you anything about him. He is
He's gay.
That's it. But his husband died,
Yeah.
so what's the point?
His husband died and he wants to commit Sudoku because of it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's the point of making him gay if his husband's dead, you know? And he's so boring. There's one point where he goes to, like, a mountain, and then he starts playing music with the big holes in the mountain. But it's so boring. That it's like, who cares? Azul, who cares?
Yeah, he does nothing. And the only noteworthy thing about him is that he's, like, the only, like, brown guy in the book.
Yeah.
And he's also gay.
He's a double minority.
Yeah, double minority. Because I don't think anyone else is described as being not white. Except for the main character.
Yeah.
And Azul.
Yeah.
Maybe Oro, because he has gold skin, but I don't think so.
Yeah. We're gonna
Like, the descriptions are really bare.
Yeah. So, yeah, Azul's just boring. And then the next ruler to arrive on the island...
Is Cleo.
Yeah, Cleo, the ruler of the Moonling Kingdom. And she's like the Ice Queen.
Yeah, she's very stereotypical. Let's go with her description. So Cleo is described as, Cleo's white gown had long sleeves like milky beams of moonlight, a neckline that reached her chin, and a cape that completely covered 3/4 of her body. The skin Isla could see was so fair her veins shined through, blue streaks on a slab of white marble. She was not only many shades lighter than Isla, but also far taller. Her face was long and pointed in 3 places, cheekbones and chin sculpted like a diamond. So I don't know what color her hair or eyes are.
Yeah, I don't know.
I have no idea what any of these people look like.
I know that when Isla goes to the Moonling Kingdom
She
later...
has to dye her hair blue.
No, she has to dye it white. She has to dye it blue when she goes to the Skyling Kingdom.
So does Azul have blue hair?
No, because she says Azul has dark hair, unlike the other Skylings.
Oh, what? What's up with that?
Because if he had eyebrows that were thicker than his eyes, and they were, like, powder blue, that would look ridiculous. It'd be like, well, what is this guy, a clown or something?
Yeah.
Get out of here, Azul. So Cleo has white hair, presumably. And she has a bit of a personality, but she's
just a jerk.
Yeah,
that's her only personality.
Saturday morning cartoon villain. It doesn't make sense for somebody who's so old to be so petty and like a bully. Like, that doesn't make any sense. I mean, you would expect her to be wise, like an elf from Lord of the Rings or something.
Or like Aragorn, like just chill.
Yeah, and so she's really mean, especially mean to Isla. Basically, everybody, there's like prejudice against the wildlings because they eat hearts. And they're, like, considered mangy.
They kill whoever they fall in love with.
Yeah, they kill whoever they fall in love with.
They're temptresses.
Yeah, so there's, like, a stigma against them. And Cleo seems to, like, really dig into Isla when she first meets her. She just doesn't like her off the bat.
Yeah.
And I guess because Isla's the main character, we're supposed to dislike Cleo because of that, but it just seems so, like, performative. Like, she's just doing it because the author is like, okay, I gotta put this in here.
Yeah, it's like a trope. It's like, there's a mean girl, there's a main girl, there's a mean girl, there's the love interest. That's what this is all going towards. And then Azul is not the gay best friend, so that's the only, like, refreshing thing about him.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's Cleo. She doesn't really do anything either. She's just there to be, like, a red herring.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think it's Celeste.
Yeah, she's the last one to show up on the island. She's the Starling girl. She's described to have silver hair. And then I think she's also described to be, like, a little bit naive. And she's
heart-shaped face.
Yeah, she's, like, the youngest because Starlings, as we mentioned, don't live past the age of 25. So
she's described as a girl, so she's presumably younger than Isla, too.
Yeah, so she and Isla are just... She and Isla are described as being the two youngest on the island of the rulers, and Celeste is a little bit more childish or childlike, I would say, in her mannerisms, the way she talks, because Cleo says, she makes a remark like, oh, you're not going to live long enough for the next centurion anyway, and then Celeste kind of goes like, oh, yeah, you're right, you know, so she's kind of, like, sweet, I guess, is her personality.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much of a personality for her either.
No.
Again, the two with the most personality are the two love interests.
Yeah.
That's it.
And so the first love interest is Grimdark, and then the second love interest is Oro. And Oro is the final of the 6 rulers who are going to be participating in the tournament. He is the king of Lightlark, and he is a sunling. And he's also an origin, meaning he has all the powers of everybody else from the other realms. And he can't come out in the sun, so we don't actually see him until, like, the next day at dinner, I think.
Yeah, he doesn't show up when they all get to the island. He shows up at the first dinner.
Yeah.
So he's described as, he had hair like woven gold, eyes as amber and hollow as honeycomb, mean eyes that pinned her in place. He frowned and nodded curtly at her in welcome. So that's, like, no description whatsoever.
No.
No description.
Yeah.
Like, it's really bare bones. The descriptions are extremely... There's no impression of these characters at all.
Yeah, Oro could look like Gandalf, for all we know.
Yeah, that's probably why other people were, like, confused that he ended up being the love interest. He had, like, no description. You have no idea what he looks like.
She just keeps referring to his eyes as hollow.
And amber.
Yeah, amber and hollow. So it's like, that makes me think of a really old guy, like, you know, Theoden King when he gets possessed by Sauron.
Or, like,
Sauron.
David Bowie with the giant whacked out pupil.
Yeah. So he's just described as being, like, hollow, and he's old as well, and his personality is, for the most part, just kind of ornery and, like, tired of it all.
He's, like, cynical and like, very, pragmatic, but also, you know, just kind of disdainful.
Yeah.
And, distant.
Yeah. So those are the 6 rulers who are going to be competing in the Centennial.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So now that we've introduced the characters...
You want to do a blow-by-blow?
Well, I mean, we could do like a summary.
Yeah.
Right? Just cover the summary, and then talk about how it could have been better. Because really, it's one of those things where it's like, with the ideas that you've set up here, like, all that stuff about wildlings falling in love with somebody and then killing them, that doesn't really have any bearing on the events of the book, because Isla, the rules don't apply to her. She doesn't have that curse, and she doesn't have wildling powers.
So she doesn't need to eat hearts.
No, she doesn't need to eat hearts. And that's revealed in, like, the 3rd chapter or something.
Something like that.
And so the reason she doesn't have to do that is because her mom fell in love with a guy, and then she just decided not to kill the guy.
Yeah, so I guess the curse didn't apply to her mom either.
I guess so, right? And so she just decided not to kill the guy. And so the guy killed the mom after, like, moments after Isla was born. And then as a result of that, she was cursed to not have wildling abilities. It was like
a counter curse. It was like, because the mom didn't fulfill her curse, she was cursed with not having a curse.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense because it doesn't make any sense because she says, I was cursed by not having a curse. But it's like, you weren't cursed by not having a curse, you were cursed by not having powers.
Yeah. So,
but it's like, how does that, like, I don't know. The whole thing about curses is very contradictory and confusing.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why she doesn't have powers, and then if you just go in the order of events of the story.
Yeah, so because she doesn't have powers, her two guardians, Poppy and Tara, say that the plan to win the Centennial for Isla is to seduce Oro.
Mm-hmm. So Oro is the Avatar, so he has all the 5 powers within him. So if she seduces Oro and he falls in love with her, then she would gain access to his powers.
Yeah.
And that would help her win the Centennial somehow. Even though the whole point is to break the curse, they keep acting like it's some kind of battle royale, but it's not. It's not a battle royale at all.
And it's 100 days long, and for the most part, they're just dicking around, going shopping, and eating chocolate.
For the most part, they're just, like, going to balls and, like, doing stupid tasks that aren't, like, that big of a deal and are really pointless.
Yeah. And so it keeps happening in the story. So at the beginning of the story, you're going into it thinking that Isla is going to participate in this competition, but then it's revealed, a couple of reveals happen early on. The first big plot twist is that she doesn't have powers. And they reveal that after she goes to dinner.
No, the first big plot twist is that she has the Star Stick.
Yeah, so the very first plot twist when we introduce Isla is that she has the Star Stick.
Yeah, and the Star Stick is some device that's never described.
Yeah.
So I just think of like an old-fashioned magician's wand, like a thick black rod with 2 white caps on the end of it. And she uses that to travel between dimensions. Like, she can teleport herself using that stick.
Yeah.
And it just creates, like, a puddle of stars on the floor that she, like, jumps through.
Yeah.
And then she can go any place she's ever been before.
Yeah.
So she has the ability to teleport, so it's not like she doesn't have powers. Because she has this ability to teleport, which was given to her by her mom. But nobody else knows about it. But since they never describe what it looks like, and she keeps, like, hiding it in her spine by, like, tucking it against her back, I just imagine that there's, like, this really obvious rod-shaped lump on the back of her, because she wears really tight clothes.
Yeah.
So it's like you'd see, like, a magician's wand, just, like a big marker wedged against her back, and everyone would be like, what's that? You know?
There's a lot of parts where Grimdark is grabbing her by the waist. He must be like, what is this lump protruding from your spine? What is that?
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's an ancient starling relic that her mother...
She thinks it's a starling relic, because when she first used it, she met Celeste, the starling ruler of Starling, who's her best friend. Yeah. And Celeste told her that it was a starling relic. Yeah. So she has the star stick when she goes to the competition. So she goes to the competition, and she's been trained her whole life to, like, be really good at swordsmanship, and also to go seduce the king. Yeah. But I don't think her trainers taught her how to seduce anyone. She never seduces anyone in this story at all.
And she gets very flustered
very easily. And, like, she has no experience with men. No. Supposedly. That she knows of. So she has no experience with men, but the plan is for her to go to this competition, even though she has no powers, and to seduce the king so she can get his powers and somehow win the contest and break the curse. Yeah. Somehow. Yeah. So she goes to the competition. It's on the island, and the storm is, like, frozen because every 100 years, the storm freezes to allow this event to take place. She meets all the other rulers, including Grimdark, who, like, is a dickhead. I don't like him. He's always, like, flirting with her. Yeah. Not flirting with her. He's always being a creep. And she just allows it because he's good looking, I guess. And then, And then they all go to the castle, the Lightlark castle, which is, like, the king's castle. And the king of Lightlark is Oro, the other love interest, and basically he's trapped on the island for some reason. Like, he's just, like, tethered to the island, he can't leave.
I think it's because his life force supports the island.
Yeah, I know his life force supports the island, but he said, like, I've been trapped here my whole life, and it's, like, implied that it's part of the curse.
I don't know.
Exactly, like...
I don't know.
I don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
For some reason, he's trapped on the island, he can't leave. Yeah. And, he also, because he's a sunling, his curse is that he can't go out into the daylight. Yeah. So he's kind of, like, ornery and, like, you know, sarcastic and, like, just very cynical. And the first day, they all go to the castle. Isla falls into the ocean for some reason.
Yeah, she's singing outside, and then she hears clapping in the distance, and she gets so shocked by the clapping that she falls off the cliff.
So I thought, I was like, does this balcony have no railing? But then later on, she's like, she leaned on the railing of the balcony. I'm like, how did you fall the first time?
I think she went out to the cliffs the first time. I don't think she was on a balcony.
She was on her balcony.
Was she?
Yeah, she was on her balcony.
Let's read the passage.
No, she crept out onto the balcony. The stone
she carefully climbed onto the wide stone ledge, knees to her chest. And so...
See, look! She was in the middle of getting ready, just in her slip. The gauzy white curtains blew back in the breeze, trailing her arms falling against her bare knees, her toes. She crept out onto the balcony. She carefully climbed onto the wide stone ledge, knees to her chest.
Yeah, so she's sitting on the rail, basically.
Why?
And then she whipped around to see the guy on another balcony, and her arms pinwheeled at her sides.
What?
Yeah.
What an idiot.
Whoa!
What an idiot!
I mean, I guess holding on to a tree for 5 hours when you were 12 didn't help her catch the railing of the balcony before she fell, right?
But she was able to catch the cliffside wall when she was climbing it later.
Right, when she was in the Moonling Kingdom.
So anyway, Isla's an idiot. The first thing we see of Isla, she's like being stupid and like climbing onto the ledge of a balcony and singing. And then she gets startled when someone starts clapping, and then she falls to her death. Her head even cracks against the surface of the ocean, but then then she wakes up on the floor in her room, coughing out seawater, and someone healed her injury.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know who it is, but it ends up being the king.
Yeah.
He was the one who was watching her singing, and he rescued her. Then she goes down to dinner, and everyone's sitting there, and that's the first time she sees the king.
Yeah, but crucially, she was supposed to look all dolled up and have a lotion that smelled like rose petals for the
Oh
plan
yeah,
to
they
succeed.
like the seductress thing is pretty much like, let's just put you in increasingly revealing outfits and like make you smell good, and eventually the king will want to like have sex with you.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Eventually.
Like they didn't give her any instructions. They didn't like tell her like, oh yeah, invite him to dinner, give him this tea. It's supposed to be his favorite, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the king is presumably hundreds of, maybe like almost 1,000 years old.
Yeah, he's like
right?
he's like 1,000 years old.
So, I mean, it would have been really interesting if she had a dossier about the recorded history of the king, all his previous lovers, what he likes, what he doesn't like.
Exactly, because he even says later on in the story that he's had a bunch of like relationships before.
Yeah.
So it's like, why wouldn't you have like all of this intel from spies, like freaking Juniper, telling you what's the king's favorite smell? Okay, Juniper, it's cinnamon and marshmallows, you know? So we're gonna make freaking Isla smell like cinnamon and marshmallows to get the king's attention.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there's basically, her big plan is supposed to be seducing the king.
Yeah.
But there's no steps to ensure that happens, except to like have her running around naked in front of him.
Yeah.
Like, stupid.
No, but Isla
He's
says,
supposed to fall in love with her,
Yeah.
not like just want to have sex with her. The whole thing hinges on him falling in love with her.
Yeah.
And all they're doing is just having her parade around naked in front of him.
But another thing that's really stupid is that you have a character who is a wildling, and everybody knows there's a big stigma against you, because everybody knows anybody who falls in love with a wildling, it's a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
So why would your plan be to get him to fall in love with you when instantly he's gonna be like, no, I'm not gonna do that, because if he dies because he falls in love with her, because presumably she's a wildling with this curse, then his entire realm is gonna die as well.
Yeah.
So what kind of idiot would you have to be as a ruler to fall in love with a wildling and condemn your entire realm to death?
It's really stupid.
It's the dumbest plan.
It's so dumb.
Her guardians are morons. But anyway, so she goes to dinner, and she wasn't looking about what she was putting on because she was late.
Oh yeah, she
fell
had
in the
no
water.
idea, even though it's like a super ornate dress.
Yeah.
She had no idea that her dress exposed everything.
She just threw it on and then and then they described the dress, and it was like tightly hugging her body everywhere, and it's like, how do you just pull on something
No,
like
it was
that?
a dress she was only supposed to wear far later on during the scheme.
Yeah.
And it was like, she threw on the first gown she could get her hands on, and then basically...
Yeah, the bones of the bodice.
Here, in her rush, Isla had grabbed one of her most brazen dresses, one she had been instructed to wear far later in the game. The bones of the bodice were visible, the panels nearly sheer. The skirt had a slit that ran up her leg to the top of her thigh. Her cape was green lace, attached to a dipping neckline.
She just threw it on, though, without realizing that's what she was putting on.
Super tight bodice and all of that. And she wears PJs at home, because she's like, she doesn't see anyone in real life ever. So wouldn't she be like super embarrassed and like have no confidence whatsoever?
Yeah, like...
She would just be super uncomfortable.
But how would you not notice that that's what you're putting on?
What the other question I have is, if she has her own personal tailor and her own personal wardrobe for this contest, because she does get a personal wardrobe for the contest, what was the point of sending her with dresses?
I mean, they say that each person was allowed to bring, like, their own set of things, like luggage, right? And she says she's going to need a weapon, but each person is allowed to bring their own.
Yeah, so how
luggage.
come she didn't bring her own weapon?
I thought that's what they were going with when they said that.
No.
But it turns out all she brought were her dresses.
All she brought were her dresses. She didn't bring her own weapon because she buys all of her weapons at the store.
Yeah.
And one of them happens to be the weapon that was planted by the villain. Like, she buys all of her weapons at the store instead of bringing the weapon that she trained with.
Yeah.
It's like, you would think that it's like the instrument that you use all the time, or like the drawing tablet that you use all the time, that's the one that you're used to.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you bring that instead of like a bunch of different types of dresses?
Because the plan,
Like, isn't that more important?
The plan was to seduce the king, but she's like, no, that's stupid, I'm not gonna do that.
So she goes to dinner wearing like the scandalous dress.
Yeah.
And then everyone's judging her, and the king gives her a heart to eat. And he's like, don't worry, it's from one of our most odious prisoners. And then she starts biting into it, and Grimdark's like, no, give it to her in her chambers. And she's like, how does he know? And, or like, you know, why is he so upset that I'm eating the gristle and the fat and the sinew and the blood in front of him?
Yeah, she's like, how come Grimdark is grossed out by the fact that I'm chomping on this human heart?
Yeah.
Because he's like a bloodthirsty killer, warrior guy.
And then it turns out that she has no powers. That was the reveal, that she has no powers. That was the first twist.
Yeah.
Besides the star stick.
I guess the first twist before that was that she and Celeste have a secret alliance.
Oh, yeah. No, that's after this.
Okay, yeah. Oh yeah, because they introduced themselves to each other.
Yeah.
No, but it's before that, because they introduce themselves to each other, then Celeste comes to her room and says, oh, I think they bought it, I'll see you at dinner, and then she leaves.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the first twist.
So the first twist is that she and the Starling ruler are actually friends, and they've known each other for years.
Yeah.
And they have a secret plan, like a secret alliance during the competition.
Yeah.
The second twist in the contest is that she doesn't actually eat human hearts, and then she just like vomits the whole thing up all night.
Yeah.
I don't know why she didn't just gag at the table. Like, she never said anything about her handlers preparing her for that.
No, like, it doesn't make any sense, because if her guardians know that she's got no powers, they shouldn't be making the focus to seduce the king. That's stupid, because nobody's gonna fall in love with the wild thing because of the curse.
Yeah.
So that's a dumb plan. They should have focused much more on saying, this is how you convince everybody that you have powers.
I know, because she has no plan.
No.
Later on in the story, they do a demonstration of power. She's no plan. She's never even thought it would come up, and it's like, your guardians suck, dude.
It's embarrassing.
Your guardians suck.
It's honestly
your guardians didn't give you like fake hearts that you could like onto the table.
Yeah.
You know, like she should be wearing really loose billowing clothes so that she can hide stuff in them.
Yeah.
Like hide weapons, hide poisons.
Yeah.
Because she has no way of defending herself.
Yeah. She should have like a
chicken heart or something.
Like a cooked heart that she has.
Fake heart.
Yeah, that she brings herself, and she's like, oh, I don't want to inconvenience you so that you have to supply me hearts. I have my own hearts that I brought. You know, like heart jerky or something like that. Because they don't say anything about how the hearts have to be prepared, right?
No.
And so heart jerky, and then her plan should be try to convince everybody that you have powers, but what you should be looking for is the bond breaker. Because it just becomes too convoluted for her to be like, no, I'm not going to do that. I have my own plan. And then not tell her guardians about her plan. Like, it's just so convoluted.
There's so many plots and, like, side plots and machinations going on in the story. So there's the prophecy, which everyone assumes is the only way to break the curse. You have to kill one of the rulers of the realm and then do the original sin. And nobody knows what the original sin is, so they're, like, trying to figure out the riddle.
Yeah.
But then the main character is working with Celeste, the Starling ruler, to find something called the Bond Breaker, which, in theory, supposedly removes curses, but only for the people who use it, and it takes like a gallon of blood from them.
Is it?
Yeah, later on in the story, they say 1 gallon of blood.
Okay, because when they initially introduced it, they said that the price was blood, but she didn't put a number on it.
No, she said we didn't know how much blood it would be, so we thought if we had 2 people using it, then it would it would leave us both alive.
It would distribute.
Yeah, it would
between
distribute
the 2 of them.
them.
Because I think a human body has how many gallons of blood in it? 5 gallons of blood?
I thought it was like 8. Oh my god! The human body only has 1.5 gallons of blood, so I'm pretty sure if it was 1 gallon, she'd be dead.
Yeah, of course. So that's why you gotta split it between the 2 of you.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot of blood.
I
man.
know.
So what's the point of even using the bond breaker if you're like, my curse is broken, so I die? You know, because if the ruler dies, then the realm dies.
Well, the whole thing ends up being fake anyway, so.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a contrivance because first we have
The prophecy.
Yeah, the prophecy.
Then we have the bond breaker, which is Celeste and Isla's plan. Then it turns out that Oro has a third plan that he's also trying to do to find the heart of the island. So it's like there's 3 different ways to end the curses, and like somehow Oro's plan has to do with the prophecy, but the bond breaker thing is just like total fake lies.
Yeah.
But it's so confusing. Like, it should have been like both of them were looking for the heart of the island.
Yeah.
Like, Celeste should have been looking for the heart of the island too.
Exactly.
Instead of her looking for the bond maker and Oro looking for the heart, they both should have been looking for the heart, and Celeste should have been like, you need to find the heart of the island, and then Oro's like, I'm trying to find the heart of the island, and then Isla would be like, oh, he's trying to find the heart of the island, how does he know about it, you know?
Exactly.
Like, then they're all looking for the same thing, and give the heart of the island the ability to, like, if you can use it to, like, grant any wish.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
And the person who used it initially used it to make a wish that led to all the curses.
Yeah.
And then the person who, like, anyone who finds it now can make a wish to either gain all the powers or reverse all the curses.
Yeah.
Like, just something really generic where it's like anyone who gets to it first can either use it for good or evil, instead of creating the heart, the bond breaker, all this other crap. I mean, that's the biggest problem with Lightlark. It's like, she has a good idea, but she never went through and, like, okay, how do I make this stronger? How do I reduce the number of ideas I have and combine them together and make it make sense and make it satisfying?
Yeah, and it just feels like one giant fetch quest.
Yeah.
Because...
No, it feels like a bunch of stuff happening and you're like, what's going to happen next? Because nothing, like, one event does not flow into the other event.
No.
She just keeps introducing rules and, like, more stuff up until, like, the last 50 pages, the last 10 pages of the book. She keeps introducing new information, and it's like, wow, dude.
Just, like, pulling it out of her butt.
Like, game-changing information.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Crazy plot twists that were never established earlier. I mean, it was confusing to me, the first big twist, that Isla doesn't have any powers, because when they show her at the ceremony with all the wildlings, they talk about flowers parting at her feet. And it's like, well, who's moving those flowers then if it's not her? Other people?
I thought the flowers were alive.
I mean, first she says wildling control over nature was on full display, and then the very next page she says wildling abilities were reduced to a party trick. So
yeah, I know,
it?
It was stupid.
Do you have full control over nature on full display, or is it just a party trick?
Yeah,
like,
so another thing that was going on is that she keeps saying that everyone's power was diminishing, but I don't know if that was the wildlings only, or if that was everyone.
Well, I mean...
Because I know that at the end, like, all the wildlings were, like, dying for no reason. And it's like, why are the wildlings dying all of a sudden?
Yeah, so wildlings are mostly women because of the curse. I don't know...
No, there's no answer to that. It's like, because of the curse, all the men were dead. You know?
Why?
It's like, because of the curse, men were the ones who got punished more often for killing women, for stealing their hearts. And so it's mostly women now, but it's like, why were men getting punished more than women? Does Alex Astor believe that, like, men and women commit crimes at the same rate, but men just get punished more than women? Is that what's going on here?
I mean, I don't know why there's so few men. It doesn't make any sense.
No, she said specifically the wildling men got punished more for the curse than the women did.
Well, what does that mean? Like,
that means that they got killed more than the women did for their crimes.
But does that mean that somebody killed them because of the curse? Like, if a wildling woman fell in love with a wildling man, she
never explained it, because, like, it would make sense if the wildling men, like, got killed more often by the women, like, something in the curse where it's like the women fell in love with the men before the men fell in love with, like, because of the way love works, the women tended to fall in love with the men first and then kill them off, or something like that, or you know, or like the I don't know, there were more men who came from off country into the country than women. So the wildling women, like, had kids with these foreign men and they killed them, but the wildling men didn't have kids, and, like, most of their kids just tended to be women. I don't know. They never explain it.
Yeah, it's just bad world
building.
It's
just never explained. It's never explained why her country is mostly women, and that, like, makes it even more confusing. Why is she a temptress and, like, a seductress if she's never been around men before?
Yeah.
Like, her character has, like, no experience with men.
Yeah.
But the plan is to seduce the king.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are you going to seduce the king if you've never talked to a dude before?
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be just embarrassing. If she has a crush on the king, it'll... Like, first of all, she's probably going to get a crush on the king first.
Yeah.
Because she's never seen a good-looking guy in her life. And she'll be like, oh my god, the king's so handsome.
Yeah.
And then she'll just be, like, super awkward around him, and then it'd be, like, fail. He's going to think she's embarrassing.
Yeah, he's gonna be
and
like,
annoying.
Get this weirdo away from me.
This lady's too weird. Like, this isn't attractive.
Exactly.
This isn't seductive. This is disgusting.
It's cringy.
It's cringy, exactly.
Yeah. And so, that's just another thing, is that each of these realms has been cursed for 500 years, and there has been no great cultural shift for each of them because of the curse.
No, the moonlings, even though they get killed by the ocean, decide to make more ships.
I know. It's so stupid. We have ships. What use is that if the ocean is just gonna drown you? It's so dumb.
No, not only that, but the sunlings and the shadow nightshade guys can't go out in the sun or the night. So it's like the ship would just stall and nobody would pilot it for 12 hours of the day.
Exactly.
It's just stupid.
You can't get a starling to do it.
I mean, I guess a skyling, because a skyling they're the only ones, like, why wouldn't the skylings be the one to make ships? Because they're the ones who can actually pilot them with the wind.
And control the wind, yeah. Exactly. No, but the skylings came up with an ingenious method of communication.
That was so dumb! That was so dumb, because I was like, the starlings can do telekinesis, and then in the last 10 pages, the friggin' nightshades can use mirrors to communicate, so it's like the nightshades would be like, dude, we invented TV.
Exactly.
Like, get on our level.
Exactly.
All we need is a mirror to communicate. These stupid paper airplanes are dumb.
But the curse of the nightlings is that...
Yeah, nightshades.
Yeah, the nightlings. The nightshades. The curse of the nightshades is that they can't be out in darkness?
Yeah.
So they can't go out at night.
No.
What happens to them if they go out at night?
I don't know, they turn...
I'm pretty sure Grimdark has been out at night before.
No, he only goes out at night when there's like a total butt pull at the end of the book, and she takes him to the hall, the place of mirrors. And then she's like, the woods suppress not only powers, but curses as well. So he was able to see the night sky through the gaps in the trees.
But I thought when she went to the Moonling Kingdom at night on the full moon, he was there.
He wasn't there.
He was there, and No, not at the Moonling Kingdom. He was at the Skyling Kingdom.
Not at night.
Well,
he was in the palace.
Yeah, what time
when
of
she
day
came
was
back.
that?
It was at night, but it was when she went back to the palace. He was following her in the palace.
So he was inside.
He was inside.
At night.
Yeah.
So what's the point if you can be inside at night?
Exactly. The whole thing about not being able to go out at night or not being able to go out in the day is like peanuts.
Yeah.
Same thing with the whole
Starlings die when they turn 25, and this idiot just has to stay inside at night.
Exactly.
Oh no.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not even like it has any effect.
No, and the skylings have the least curse of all. They just can't fly, so it's like, oh, they're just like normal human beings. So cursed. I can't fly either. Does that mean I'm cursed? What the F? It's so bad.
So stupid.
But
Yeah.
anyway, back to the plot. Where were we?
She goes to dinner.
Yeah, she goes to
And
dinner.
she-
She's fed a heart.
She doesn't eat hearts, and apparently you only need 1 to 2 hearts a month anyway, so it's like, big deal.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but the king insists on giving her a heart every day.
Because he's a moron.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how curses work, obviously. And that doesn't come back later. Nobody becomes suspicious of her.
Mm.
And then she notices that her chambermaid is a starling girl with an injured leg. So then she makes a deal with the starling girl by giving her a healing salve for her leg. Yeah, like a paste for her leg. I don't know how good the wildling healing stuff is.
No, but it's so dumb because she had a bone that broke and was never set properly, and that happened like years ago.
She goes, here you go,
and
kid.
she just smeared some cream on it, and that like healed right up.
Yeah, so...
Like, I wonder if she had like, if she was missing a leg, would you be able to regrow the leg? Because this is a very old injury. How does that work?
Yeah, and Isla doesn't have any powers.
No.
Right? So it's like, how does this... If it was like a cut or something, with like a healing salve that expedites the healing.
Or if she had an infection.
Yeah.
If she had an infection and she was like limping with pain because she had an infection, and then Isla gave her like some antibiotics.
Yeah.
That would be one thing. Because like, then Ella would be like, oh yeah, I'm probably going to die anyway by the time I'm 25, so it doesn't matter. Like, it'll probably just get amputated and whatever, you know? Nobody really cares about us because we die by the time we're 25.
Yeah, and so it's weird because they say that the moonlings heal with water.
Yeah.
But then the wildlings can also apparently do crazy
No,
things of healing.
they're like, this makes the moonlings, redundant because we have advanced healing salves.
Yeah, but that's so weird because it's like...
But it's like, wouldn't the skylings be redundant if you just invented a windmill? Like, what the heck?
No, but there's no, like, scope of how much a moonling can heal, right? Like, if a person gets decapitated, can a moonling put all their blood back into their body and then stitch them up?
I have no idea.
But a wildling can't
They
do that.
don't explain the powers at all.
Yeah, there's no kind of like definition for healing. Like what exact healing can like a moonling bring a person back to life from the dead, right? Are
like
they
a wildling can do like basically modern medicine, but a moonling can perform miracles.
right? You know, there's
like
no
actual magic.
Yeah, there's no.
No, but at one point she says like the wildling pace made moonlings redundant, and I'm like, wow, like what's the point of having moonlings?
It didn't
then?
really though, because it heals you, but it doesn't take away the pain. So
Oh yeah, that was stupid.
That's extremely dumb. But so she makes a deal with her chambermaid Ella to start bringing her food. And again, no suspicion is raised, even though her big secret is that she doesn't have powers. Ella doesn't go, "Hey, I'm bringing you regular food, not hearts, and you expect me to keep this a secret?" Because this is nuts, right? Because a starling, basically every person from every other realm, has an incentive to dislike the rulers of other realms.
Yeah, because your incentive is basically to make sure that your realm wins and that your ruler doesn't freaking die, because then you would be killed.
Exactly.
So she would have, and then everyone hates wildlings anyway. They're scared of them.
Yeah.
So she would have an incentive to pass information on to the other rulers in favor, like at least to the starling ruler, in favor of to disfavor the wildlings, specifically because they're all afraid of the wildlings.
Exactly. But then I would also imagine that she would tell Oro, because she lives on Lightlark, right? And so you have a double incentive there, where if you're a starling living on Lightlark, you want to tell Oro, hey, this is what's going on, right? And so, but that never comes back into play. That could have been really interesting and tense if you had this sort of game going on, where you had this
more
secret.
like Game of Thrones, where everyone's like narking on each other and there's like political intrigue, but there's very little intrigue. Like the only intrigue is that like Cleo is mean. That's
exactly.
It.
So
like there's no plotting or scheming at all. Like if you were expecting Hunger Games or Battle Royale, it's like wet fart.
Yeah, like you just get a bunch of chapters of this girl going to a bunch of different libraries.
Yeah.
and so she makes a pact with Ella to get regular food delivered to her house. And then basically the plan that she and Celeste has is that they want to find this thing called the Bond Breaker, which can break curses and it can break bonds. And so with that bond breaker, you have to sacrifice a gallon of blood, which means you're basically going to die if you use it. Yeah, you're going to bleed out and die. And the bond breaker is hidden in one of the libraries of one of the different islands, right? So in the Starling Library, the Moonling Library,
the Skyling Library.
The Skyling Library, or then the Sunling Library, right? And so they're looking for this bond breaker, but in order to, let's see here. So they have to find the bond breaker, but as a part of that, in order to get to the different islands, she has to dress and look like a person from that island.
Because only people of that island are allowed there, or something stupid like that.
Yeah, so they have, I think Starlings have silver hair and they wear silver clothing. Moonlings have white hair and they wear white clothing. Skylings have blue hair and they wear blue clothing. And Sunlings have gold hair and they wear gold clothing. So she has to go to the market to get clothes for that. And while this is happening, each of the 6 rulers have their own challenges. Right? And so this is in the first couple weeks of the tournament.
It's the first 25 days.
Yeah, the first 25 days of the tournament. So she goes into the market to get a dress from the tailor.
Yeah, everyone gets their own personal uniform, or their own personal, like, coterie of outfits.
Yeah, and so she needs to go to the tailor not only to get a new outfit, but also to see if he's got fabric to get the clothing that she needs.
Yeah, she scopes out his place so that she can come back and steal disguise clothes.
Yeah, it's just very convoluted.
But then on the way there, she runs into Grimfart.
Grimdark, yeah, boy, finds her, and then they have an enchanting exchange.
Chocolate date.
Yeah, the chocolate date. So apparently Skylings specialize in making chocolates. I don't know why.
No, you would think, I think because they're like basically described as like Indian or Middle Eastern peoples, you would think that the most interesting way to portray Skyling territory is like a desert, because there's a lot of wind in the desert. And like their specialties would be like pomegranates and dates and stuff like that, and their culture would be more along that line, Mediterranean.
Yeah.
But chocolate grows in like dense, lush jungles, which is like, why wouldn't chocolate be a wildling specialty?
Exactly.
Like, she should be like a fruitarian who eats like tons of chocolate.
Yeah.
I don't know why the freaking chocolate comes from Skylings. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and it's like the curse about eating human hearts. I thought it was like, if anything else turns to ash in your mouth, because that would really suck, right? That would be terrible if she couldn't enjoy any other food. But no, she can eat her weight in chocolate.
Because she's not
apparently.
cursed.
I know she's not cursed, but if she's trying to maintain to everybody that she is cursed...
Oh, then she shouldn't be eating regular food in front of them.
No, she shouldn't be eating regular food in front of them. But Grimdark says, can you eat chocolate? And she goes, I can eat, like, twice my weight in chocolate. Because she loves chocolate. And it's just wish fulfillment. It's pure wish fulfillment. Here you are, the most beautiful woman on the island, having a chocolate date with this guy who's, like, emo Tom Hiddleston.
He's like Ben Barnes mixed with Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, and they describe all the truffles and chocolate. He gets her 2 of everything, and he's such a Chad that he just splashes the gold coins onto the counter.
Yeah, without even counting them.
It would have been so funny. The guy said, actually, you're short, like, several coins. And he's like, oh, okay, here you go, you know, more coins.
Yeah, no, it's like your boyfriend taking out a credit card, like a metal credit card, and just laying it down on the table. Buy my lady whatever she wants.
Exactly, so it's wish fulfillment there. But the thing with Grim and Isla is that since they're a wildling and a nightshade, their people are not on Lightlark because the nightshades have their own area, the wildlings have their own area, and they're not favored. So they both outsiders.
They both left Lightlark before the curses.
Yeah.
I don't know why the wildlings left. But the nightshades apparently left a long time before, and they'd actually been to war.
Well, the wildlings didn't leave before the curses.
No, they did. No, they left shortly after.
Yeah, shortly after. And so...
But they were the first to leave.
Yeah. And so they get the chocolate, and they have all these descriptions of, like... He like, basically puts the chocolate against her mouth, like, shoving it.
Yeah.
And then she eats it, and they describe how it has, like, a raspberry cream filling.
Yeah.
You know, really...
Alex Astor really wanted to eat some chocolate.
Dude,
couldn't.
I wanted to eat some chocolate.
I wanted to. I was like, I want to eat some chocolate truffles, man.
Yeah, so the really indulgent chocolate chapter... And then he gets her to eat a spicy chocolate, and it's so spicy that she starts crying. And he starts laughing at her, and he gets up.
Let me read that.
Yeah, and that's when we see some of Grimdark's powers.
But Victoria would not grant the chocolate scene, and in fact filming would not commence until the next day, after a fortifying meal, a night's rest, and a fresh change of clothes. Filming for the Lightlark review would continue over 3 days and 8 hours of recording time, during which time Pirik and Victoria would find themselves increasingly inching towards the dark depths of madness and depravity few men ever encounter. Next time on Lightlark.
I was just imagining someone going, ah, 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 ah.
Yeah, the weapon shop.
Like in an RPG.
Yeah, so it's basically like an RPG.
There's like a weapon shop, there's no blacksmith, there's just a weapon shop.
But how can they do global trade if every full moon they drown?
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it doesn't make sense otherwise. This is page 63 and we're still introducing new stuff, new magic.